Okay, just when we thought that Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker couldn't get any worse, we have this not so crazy theory that Rey would be lifting the Death Star 2 out of the desert of Jakku and throwing it into space. Yes, it sounds absolutely stupid, but it's not that far off because there was concept art for Star Wars The Force Awakens that Rey would be doing this. She would lift the whole entire Death Star into outer space. Now, how could she be doing this without any Jedi training? Your guess is as good as mine, but with Rey, it doesn't matter because she is just so perfect at everything. Now, we do know that Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is going to use concept art from The Force Awakens that wasn't used in that movie. This theory here really is stupid. It makes absolutely no sense. For one thing, if she's going to raise the Death Star into outer space, where is the Death Star going to go? What's the point of doing it? Your guess is as good as mine. But let's go ahead and dive into this theory that this will happen in Star Wars Episode 9. It says here, a new Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker theory sees Rey use newly acquired force powers to raise the Death Star from the ashes. The theory comes from Disney Star Wars is Dumb and predicts Rey will use the Force to raise the Death Star wreckage up into outer space. The theory is inspired by newly released concept art of Star Wars The Force Awakens from Doug Chiang. As described by Chiang, the image shows the Death Star 2 rising out of the desert of Jakku. And you can see the image right here. That actually looks pretty cool. But it's dumb in theory that Rey would be doing this. You know? We have seen through 2 movies Rey have absolutely no training whatsoever. And don't give me that Luke trained her. Luke didn't show her anything. She is just a Mary Sue. It is what it is. So, not only is the theory inspired by this new concept art, but Slash Films' Peter Serretta, hope I pronounced his name correct, revealed back in December of 2018 that The Rise of Skywalker would be influenced by concept art from Star Wars The Force Awakens. That's probably because J.J. Abrams had to rush this movie because of Colin Trevorrow getting fired, and J.J. Abrams probably didn't like The Last Jedi that much, and he just had to reuse stuff that they didn't use before in The Force Awakens, you know? Just like Carrie Fisher is coming back from unused footage from The Force Awakens. Now, all of this kind of goes back to what Yoda said in The Empire Strikes Back when he was teaching Luke. Luke had trouble, moving rocks. Luke had a lot of trouble trying to try to lift out his ship from the swamp on Dagobah. And Yoda says that, size doesn't matter or anything like that. And he lifts Luke's ship out of the swamp. But to move an entire Death Star without a Jedi Master to even teach you the basics of doing that sounds outrageous. It sounds outlandish. But I wouldn't be surprised. This is just going to make Rey look even worse. And I really do feel bad for Daisy Ridley that she has to take some of the criticism for all of this when it's really on J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, Kathleen Kennedy for making her character the way she is. She's a goody two-shoes know-it-all that nobody likes. She is probably the worst developed character in Star Wars history. She just is. I'm not a fan of her. She's on my lore list of all Star Wars characters. This better not show up in Episode 9. It really better not show up in Episode 9. It will completely destroy Episode 9, in my opinion. But when does my opinion even matter? We've been begging for Rey to get training in episode 7 and episode 8. I don't think you're going to see her actually get any training in episode 9. Even though in the trailer, Luke says we passed on all that we know, it's probably just implied that she actually got training and she knows how to do this now. But the thing is, there's only a 1-year time jump between episode 7 and episode 9. Because episode 8 was pretty much the next day after the events of episode 7. So in one total year, Rey is going to go from Jedi nothing because she didn't know anything about the Force to a complete Jedi Master that can lift the Death Star out and throw it out into space. It sounds ludicrous. And this was going to be a real thing in The Force Awakens. Why would J.J. Abrams even consider that for The Force Awakens? Because it's so ridiculous. It really, really is. I mean, Luke had trouble lifting rocks. But of course, in The Last Jedi, Rey had no trouble lifting rocks. I mean, Luke didn't even show her how to lift rocks. But now, she's going to lift the entire Death Star. I hope this isn't true, guys. I really, really hope this isn't true. There's a lot of signs pointing to this movie being a disaster. It's all about trying to make Rey look a lot better than she should. It's not about Rey having to go through any trials and tribulations. She's had no trouble whatsoever in any of these movies so far. And that's what people don't like. What's the point of having a Star Wars movie where the antagonist doesn't have a learning curve? She doesn't have to grow up. She doesn't have to face trouble. And that's the main problem with Rey. Boy. J.J. Abrams, this cannot happen. This should not happen. But I would probably give this a good 60% chance of happening because it was going to be a real thing in The Force Awakens. And now, in Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, I should say, she's fully trained. How, we don't know. She's the master of everything. She's the greatest of all time. And she's going to lift the Death Star into space. This could actually be one of the final shots. Maybe that Kevin Smith was saying was going to blow your mind away and melt your heart and all that. If that happens, it won't melt my heart. I'll just say, this is just an end to a horrible saga. But that's just my thoughts on this. What are you guys' thoughts on this? Rey lifting the Death Star, throwing it into space. I'm not feeling it. So guys, let me know what you think about all this in the comments. If you're new here to the channel, please hit subscribe to catch future videos from me, and we will catch you on the next video. John Matrixx, out.